Let's dive right into a really fascinating paradox. We're going to look at certain Japanese traits that often get a bad rap at home, but once you step onto the global stage, they're not just accepted, they're actually highly respected.
Passive, indecisive, apologize too much. Do any of these sound familiar? If you've ever worked in a Japanese company, chances are you've heard this stuff before. Maybe you've even started to believe it about yourself.
Because for a long time in Japan, the message has been pretty clear, right? Be more assertive, show some leadership, speak your mind. And if you don't fit that mold, well, those traits are often just labeled as weaknesses. But what if that's not the whole story? And that question, that brings us to the real heart of the issue. This isn't about you having some kind of personal flaw. Not at all. It's about perspective. It's about the lens these behaviors are being viewed through.
See, the way you're being judged is based on a local standard. It's just a set of values that works for one very specific environment. It's a system that's been optimized for Japan, but it is not the only system out there. So let's do something fun. Let's flip this entire script on its head. We're going to see how these things you thought were weaknesses can actually transform into some of your most powerful assets the second you leave Japan.
This really is the central question, isn't it? What if the problem isn't you? What if the problem is just the environment you're being judged in? Let's dig into that. All right, we're going to break down 4 of these common traits one by one and really reevaluate them through a global lens.
Okay, first up,指示待ち. You know this one, literally waiting for instructions. In Japan, this is probably the #1 criticism. It's seen as a total lack of initiative.
But just look at this. The difference is night and day. What's called passive in Japan is seen as high organizational adaptability abroad. The value is completely flipped. And here's why that is. In huge global operations, think manufacturing, medicine, anything where safety is critical, following a precise process isn't a weakness, it's an absolute necessity. Going rogue can create massive risks. So an employee who confirms instructions and follows the rules to a T, that person is seen as incredibly reliable and responsible, especially in process-driven cultures like Germany or Scandinavia.
Next, let's talk about Kuki wo yomu, the famous skill of reading the air. It's a really nuanced ability, but man, is it easily misunderstood. Back home, it's often kind of dismissed as just going with the flow, caving to peer pressure. But internationally, it's recognized for what it is, a highly sophisticated form of nonverbal communication and conflict avoidance. Think about it. In a multicultural negotiation, say in the Southeast Asia or the Middle East, what's not being said is often way more important than what is. Being able to sense that unspoken tension in the room, that can stop a deal from completely falling apart. It builds trust for the long haul. It's basically a diplomatic superpower.
All right, our third trait is seikakusa, accuracy, that relentless, almost obsessive pursuit of precision and getting things right.
Now, in Japan, being accurate is, well, it's the baseline, right? It's just expected. No one gives you a medal for it. But globally, it's seen as something incredible, a powerful engine for reducing what they call trust cost. And we're talking about real money here. When you have a reputation for accuracy, a company doesn't need to spend as much time and money monitoring you, double-checking your work, or writing crazy penalties into contracts. This is a huge deal in things like international finance or global supply chains. Your precision literally saves the company cold, hard cash. And finally, let's look at shazai, the act of apologizing. In Japan, saying sorry can sometimes feel like a reflex, a habit that's done without a lot of deep meaning behind it. But in a lot of global workplaces, it's heard very, very differently. It's seen as a clear signal that you recognize there's a problem and you're committed to fixing it. Now, this one's a bit tricky because, yes, in some cultures, saying I'm sorry can mean you're admitting legal fault. But on a team level, day to day, it's often seen as a rare and incredibly valuable sign of accountability. In workplaces where everyone is busy pointing fingers, the person who says, I see the issue and I'll help fix it, becomes the most trustworthy person in the room. So the big question is, why? Why is there this massive difference in how these exact same behaviors are perceived? Well, the answer really lies in the basic structure of the work environments themselves. This table really breaks it down. A lot of traditional Japanese systems are seniority-based. Authority can be ambiguous, and responsibility is often collective and fuzzy.
This can lead to something called institutional fatigue, where nobody really feels empowered to make a move. In that world, yeah, waiting for instructions looks like you're just passing the buck. But in a global system that's built on clear roles and managing risk, that same behavior is seen as respecting the process. It's a totally different game.
So let's bring all this home. Let's talk about what this means for your value, for your career, in the world right now and in the future. Here's the most exciting part. The value of these traits is actually going up. In our world of growing uncertainty and risk, things like reliability and accuracy are becoming premium assets. And looking ahead to the age of AI, when machines can handle all the routine stuff, the single most valuable human currency is going to be trust. And these traits we've been talking about, they are the very building blocks of that trust.
So if you only remember one thing from all this, please let it be this. Your valuation in Japan is not the same as your value in the world. They are two completely different things measured on two completely different scales. So that feeling you might have had for years, that feeling of being too passive or too indecisive, of being judged unfairly, that wasn't just in your head. It's a structural reality, and it was never, ever your fault.